Welcome, friends, to our Sunday Circle celebration of Advent. This season is often described as a time of waiting, but waiting is only half the story. Advent is also a season of becoming, a season of emergence, a season in which something new is quietly taking shape, often before we can name it or fully understand it. Our readings today invite us into that deeper understanding. Bruce Sanguine prays to the cosmic womb, universe bearer, life of all life, reminding us that God is not static or distant, but alive, creative, and still unfolding. And Meister Eckhart offers his bracing challenge. What good is it to me if this eternal birth of the divine Son takes place unceasingly, but does not take place within myself? Advent, then, is not about remembering one birth long ago. It's about recognizing the many births of Christ, past, present, and unfolding, and discerning what the birth of Christ means for each of us in this year, 2025. The first birth of Christ did not happen in Bethlehem. It happened 13.8 billion years ago, in a moment of profound darkness that suddenly flared into light. Before stars, before planets, before life, there was a long silent pause, and then an eruption of creativity that continues to this day. From the perspective of the universe story, this was the first incarnation. Divine energy becoming matter, matter organizing into galaxies, and galaxies forging the elements that would one day become our bodies. Everything that exists flows from that original moment of generosity. Bruce Sanguine captures this beautifully when he speaks of God choosing to be born into this evolutionary adventure of life. Christ, in this sense, is not confined to one moment in history. Christ is the divine presence woven into the very structure of the universe, born as light, relationship, and possibility itself. Hildegard of Bingen, whose vision we explored earlier in the fall, painted the universe as a glowing egg, its shell surrounded by divine fire, its interior pulsing with rivers and winds, stars, and the greening power of God. A cosmic womb holding all of creation in gestation. This indeed is the first womb, the womb of the universe, holding all of us in a long, slow birth that continues even now. Advent begins here, with awe, with humility, with gratitude, with the recognition that we belong to something vast and holy, and that our lives are expressions of a much larger story. The second birth is the one we know best, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Here, the cosmic becomes intimate. The infinite chooses particularity. God does not arrive as power or certainty, but as vulnerability, through a young woman who says yes without knowing how the story will unfold. Bruce Sanguine names this clearly. You chose to be born in this blessed realm of time and space. This birthing matters not because it is exclusive, but because it reveals something essential about God's way of being. God comes close. God risks relationship. God risks suffering. God enters the messiness of human life, not to escape it, but to transform it from within. And then Meister Eckhart presses the question further. He refuses to let this birth remain safely in the past. What good is it to me if Mary is full of grace, if I am not also full of grace? Advent does not ask us to admire Mary from a distance. It invites us to recognize ourselves in her courage, to see her consent as a pattern for our own lives. What does it mean for our lives to recognize that we too, each of us, is full of God's grace? The third birth of Christ is ongoing and is happening all around us in the miracle of creation, which is ever evolving. Hildegard called this divine life force viriditas, greening power. Viriditas is the sap in the trees, the vitality in our bodies, the spark of creativity, the renewal that arrives with every spring. For Hildegard, God is not separate from creation. God pulses through creation. Francis of Assisi understood this too. Brother sun, sister moon, brother fire, sister water, all kin, all radiant with the same divine heartbeat. He recognized what science now confirms, that the universe is not a collection of objects, but a living communion of subjects. Thomas Berry described Earth as a living organism, and he teaches us that everything in creation, every being, human and more than human, has interiority, an inner dimension, a capacity for self-expression, relationship, and response. This means that incarnation is not a one-time event. Christ is being born again and again, in forests and rivers, in creatures great and small, in the fragile beauty of a planet that sustains us even as we strain its limits. Advent then is not only about preparing our hearts, it's about remembering our kinship with all of creation. To honor this birth of Christ is to live with reverence, restraint, and mutuality, to recognize that what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. And now we come to the most challenging birth of all, the birth of Christ within us. Eckhart says it plainly. We are all meant to be mothers of God, not metaphorically, not someday, but here and now in our own lives. This is where Advent becomes deeply personal. Advent is not about passive waiting. It is a time of quiet formation, a time when something is gathering strength beneath the surface. Interiority, the inner dimension of reality, is where this birth happens. Our consciousness, which expresses itself in our way of being in the world. It is where compassion forms, where courage grows, where clarity slowly emerges, often without fanfare and often in the dark. This Advent, each of us may ask ourselves, what is trying to emerge through me now? What small beginning is taking shape? This birth rarely announces itself. It may feel fragile or incomplete, but it is real, and it matters. So we've talked about 4 Advent births, the Big Bang in Bethlehem, in creation, and internally. What ties all these births together? If we truly believe that everything has interiority, that spark of consciousness, and that the universe is a communion of subjects, I would say that the concept that binds all these together is consent. The universe consented to become. Mary consented to carry new life. The earth consents to renewal again and again. And now the question turns to us. In a world that feels anxious, divided, and overwhelmed, Advent does not ask us to fix everything. It instead asks us to participate fully in the becoming that is already underway. Bruce Sanguin calls us up and becomers, those willing to allow divine love to take flesh in our ordinary lives through ordinary acts of presence, courage, and care. Consent is not dramatic. It's often quiet. It looks like choosing love when fear would be easier, staying open when closing down feels safer, trusting that small acts of compassion matter in a world hungry for healing. So as we move deeper into this season toward Christmas, I invite you to reflect, which birth is asking for your attention, your consent this Advent? Is it the cosmic birth of the Big Bang, the sense of awe and belonging to something vast and holy? Is it the Bethlehem birth, a return to simplicity, vulnerability, tenderness in your own life? Is it the ongoing birth of creation, a call to kinship, to viriditas, to the greening of your life? Or is it an inner birth, a quiet emergence, a subtle beginning taking shape in the womb of your own soul? Maybe it's more than one or all of them. Whatever it is, may you trust the process. May you honor the darkness that makes emergence possible. And may you remember that Advent is not only God coming to us, it's about God coming through us. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.